Hello there folks, these are the hands of me, Dan Brown, from asortofinterestinglife.com, and here we have a rather nice shelf full of old Beano books and some new Beano books too. A few Dennis the Menace annuals, a few more just down out of shot there, and above we have got, I won't call them more grown-up books, but I'll say up here there are more boring books. So anyway, moving swiftly on. I thought we'd just have a quick look at these and a general look at some of these, some of the Beano books through time. Now, I've done a video on these in the past. I do get a few questions and a few comments about these, because these are often in the background of the desk that's normally here, where I do my general videos and little reviews and unboxings. So I've done one in the past, but I thought we'll have just a more sensible look at the evolution of the Beano. And what has sparked this is, as I say, I often get messages asking me for more boating videos, more videos about notebooks or biking, all sorts of different things. But this is one of the less common ones, when the other day somebody by the Twitter name @GamerPet or GamerPet tweeted at me, "Hello Dan, do you have by any chance the Beano book 1991? If you do, can you do a short video of the pages? I'm on a nostalgia hunt." And I thought, yeah, haven't looked at these properly really, so let's dive in and have a look. So in the theme of let's have a look at the evolution over time, we've got 5 books lined up. This is 1956, the earliest one from my little collection, then 1968, 1975, which is the first time that good old Biffo the Bear, bless him, was replaced by Dennis the Menace. Then 1991, as requested, and then a very quick look through the latest one before 2015 that is released later this year. It's my intention to spend no more than 1 minute per book, just to give you a quick look at some of the pages so that you can see how over time it's changed and become, in my opinion, more picture-based. Right, so 1956, once again you can see this is not the greatest condition ever. Biffo and Dennis are at least peacefully coexisting here. You've got all of these random characters, Roger the Dodger, Lord Snooty, and well, everybody you want, Minnie the Minx in unusual colours compared to these days. And this is General Jumbo, who is controlling all of these, as these are like little model versions of the characters. And he, of course, is famous for his little arm thing, which normally controls a little model army. Right. If we open this up, then you can see that the comics and that are very focused, all nicely laid out in perfect square formation. If we have a look through, you'll see that that's a common theme throughout most of these pages. Then Hookie's Bustum Book. Flipping heck. See, these are uncommon things to see in any sort of annual these days. But again, so we keep flicking through, and just to give you a general gist, this is what I quite like in the old ones as well. There'd be proper sort of long written stories, or well, short stories obviously, but in comparison to other normal comics, these I always quite like to look back on, because you just don't get that sort of thing these days. So yeah, as you can see really, it's a lot of words, and very often very few pictures indeed. And all of the comics are that very neat laid out, and in with a good margin all around them there. Right, that's our first look at 1956. 1968, just thought I'd choose this for a random sake. Moving on. Right, who have we got here? 1968, Biffo, Dennis the Menace, Roger the Dodger, try and get those actually in shot, and Minnie the Minx, still before she changed to red and black as Dennis, and even Roger the Dodger in that picture is white and red checked rather than red and black. Right. Once again, you can see the original owner has added in their own annotations here. 1968. You can see we've actually got comics going right to the edge of the page. And everything's a lot less formal, a lot less rigid, and well, I think the words speak for himself really. I do like these as well, I'm a fan of. Just sort of open, almost minimalist, very plain, lots of white space, and just focusing on the characters or main things. This is turning into a rather bizarre Dan Brown's view on comic book writing and illustration. Yes, once again, there's not really too much to say, and I don't want to get bogged down in going over every detail. Also, you'll notice that these are basically two-tone prints. So you've obviously got, well, in this case, a sort of faint blue. I don't know if that would have been black originally, but you've basically got black and blue, red and blue, and that's just switching from comic to comic, but never crossing over to be red, white and black and blue. Right, that's 1968 wrapped up. 1975, first time that poor old Biffo has lost his front page dominance, and from this point it really changed from Dennis the Menace to the Bash Street Kids, and they sort of jostled around for position for a good while before Dennis the Menace really sort of ultimately took over. You can see even in this, the Bash Street Kids are all of these main other characters. But it's got to be said, it's disappointing to see that the picture doesn't carry on to be a separate picture on the back there, as neither does 68, but even 1956 had that feature. Right then. So once again, this is 1975. You're seeing already a lot more pictures and a lot fewer, or far fewer words. In fact, I'm surprised. This has jogged my memory as just flicking through this, that it really is amazing to consider that this is going back to the mid-70s, and already it's a very more modern looking thing than it was even less than 20 years before. I'd say the difference between the Beano book now, which you'll see later on, compared to this one, and this one compared to 56, is far less to the modern time than it is just back to 19 years before, was that? Please forgive my terrible mathematics. And 1991, as requested. Once again, you can see we get the different picture on the back. Now, opening up, you're seeing, hopefully, that we have got a lot more colour. An awful lot more colour. And again, now, more than ever, you're seeing a lot of pictures, a lot of big pictures, and far fewer words than we had previously been looking at. As we look through here, I'm amazed at just how bright and vibrant the colours are. I mean, this is getting on now for, what would you say, 1991? I think that's got to be 23 years old now. Which, first of all, that's a terrifying thing to consider, that this book is 23 years old. But when you look through it, it looks almost as if it could have been printed today. Anyway, moving swiftly on. That's 1991. Let's fast forward to the absolute latest. This is last year's, 2014. They're always published with the next year's date on them. If we bring this up here, let's get that a little bit more in focus. You can see this is the Beano book, 1938 to 2013, 75 years of laughter anniversary. 75 years. And fair play to good old Dennis, he's not looking too bad for his age. And you've got plenty of characters thrown in on the back there. And good old Biffo, of course, pride of place in the front of the bus there. So, opening up now. Oh, random insert there. Now, if we have a look in here, you're probably going to look at this and think it's very similar to the 1991, and as I say, maybe even the 1975 book. Plenty of big pictures, plenty of colour, and far fewer words once again. And I say far fewer words, we're really comparing this to the 1950s and 60s era Beano books. It's interesting as well, just for me personally, being a long-time Beano fan, that the cartoon styles have changed various times, and different comic strips have been done by different artists, and even just the general style of the comics and the content of them has changed and gone through different phases. And looking at these are all so much different to when I was growing up, and sort of in my, I don't know, age. Probably the first actual Beano comic I was bought must have been when I was about 8 years old. And when I look through this now, it's like the comic style is so much different. But I could easily imagine, if you aren't into it and have never looked at Beanos in any sort of real depth, then you could easily look and go, Oh yeah, it's all very much the same. But it's amazing, like things like the Bash Street Kids. They used to be a very sort of proper way that they were drawn, like somehow a very studied, very clinical way, and I really used to like that. But times change, and my goodness me, who knows what the next 20 years worth of books will look like. So, that's been a very quick look. I hope that's shed some light. I hope that at Gamer Pet you have enjoyed your very quick look through the pages of the 1991 annual. And until the next time, I will say, this is not at all the normal sort of video that I tend to post. Of course, feel free to check out my other videos for loads of general videos from living on a boat in the UK, walking, biking, kayaking, going up mountains, all sorts of general bits and pieces like that. Feel free to, like I say, subscribe, like the Facebook page, join me over on Twitter and Facebook, and feel free to add my personal accounts, and check out my books for the Kindle, The Narrowboat Lad, The Narrowboat Lad Living the Dream, and The Narrowboat and a Notebook. Until the next time, keep it Beano worthy, keep it menacing, and of course, watch out for Nasher. Farewell.